These two trainers are going to get locked in here. Let's take another look here at the teams. We saw Beelzeboy on stage earlier, but this is a closer look. Trainers, get your charge TMs ready. Make sure to keep in mind which of these are legacy and which are not. For example, the Rage Fist and that Shadow Annihilate.
Yeah, there's going to be some attacks that are a little bit harder to get. So you might need to get an elite TM. You can't. I hope you were watching earlier on so you could get some drops and you were able to get some of these prizes and use for your own Pokemon. Maybe you've seen all of this amazing Shadow Annihilate usage and saying, I want to use that myself. I want to try that out in the Go Battle League, or I want to try that out at a local cup and challenge for next season.
This is a Bullet Seed Cradily from Harjeff. I don't know if that's going to be super important because there's an equal number of positive and negative situations, right? Against a Shadow Kettle Marowak from Beelzeboy, positive. Against something like a Galarian Moltres, it's kind of a negative, right? You don't want to be throwing these grass-type attacks into a flying-type opponent, but it's all about finding those openings.
One thing I would like to point out is at North America, in the North American International Championships, the first tournament in this current meta that we're in, it seems like a lot of the top trainers were using very similar but Pokemon that weren't seen very often throughout the tournament. And we're looking at this losers finals here, and we're seeing a Shadow Steelix and a Shadow Annihilate on both of these teams, which is such an interesting pick, something that we haven't seen completely throughout the day.
What's ironic to me is that at NAIC, we saw a lot of Shadow Annihilate paired with Dedenne because you need that hard Mandibuzz answer, but these trainers are opting for different fairy types, Azumarill for Harjeff, and then you have that Tinkaton for Beelzeboy, plus the supplementary support of the Thunderfang Steelixes. So these teams actually make a lot of sense, and it just goes to prove that in Pokemon Go, there's so many different ways to address a problem. You gotta get creative, you gotta think outside of the box.
You were talking about Pokemon that could be impactful in these battles. If we're taking a look at Harjeff's team, I think there's a lot of play for that Azumarill because it really just needs to worry about those fast attacks from the Steelix, but everything else, it can kind of go toe-to-toe with, especially that Galarian Moltres. Although, time and time again, actually, throughout the day, now I'm wondering, is Galarian Moltres actually an Azumarill counter?
If you were watching Maximilian's battles, you got question marks above your head as I do, and taking a look at these teams, there are a couple of things that are, seemingly missing. For example, we do see Cradily on Harjeff's team, but not on Beelzeboy's. He's actually the only trainer in our top 3 without Cradily on his team of 6. And I do think that becomes important when you start to look at how to answer a Pokemon like Azumarill. What hard answer does Beelzeboy even have?
I think that if you can start getting the Psychic Fangs, if you can start whittling away at the defenses of the Azumarill, then the Steelix can definitely have a lot more play. But even still, I'm not sure. It's what we call, or I like to call, you like to talk about chaining earlier on, I like to call it tag team efforts of different Pokemon to be able to take things out. And again, I think that's what makes our 50-second timer so interesting and so dynamic is you can switch out. You can save and store charge attacks, or you can save and store energy. You can try to catch a charge attack from their opponent at different times. It makes things a little bit harder to predict, a little bit harder to go through. You gotta stay on your toes if you are these trainers.
And we saw Harjeff do exactly that versus Corlash earlier on in the day, but here we go. Losers, finals, last set of the day. We're gonna see Beelzeboy take on Harjeff here, and that Cradily comes right out into the lead.
And it is a Bullet Seed Cradily, so as you can see, it's going to be doing a little bit more with the fast attacks than it would if it was doing Acid, and now it's going to throw the Rock Tomb, which is going to lower the attack of that Lapras. No Protect Shield on Beelzeboy's side.
Super effective damage either way you cut it, but the Ice Beam will deal that super effective damage right back. It has been one stage debuff, so it's not that impactful, but Harjeff wants to maintain HP on his Cradily here.
He wants to be able to get a little bit more energy. He wants to be able to have a lot more health, and that's exactly what that Protect Shield helped do. Now going ahead and throwing another Rock Tomb, but catching onto the Tinkaton. This is a good thing overall for Beelzeboy. He doesn't have to use any shields, but the bad news is now you're going to be debuffed.
Beelzeboy in that earlier series made some really risky swaps, including the Shadow Steelix, but now the Tinkaton swap, as you look at the team, it actually feels really safe against Harjeff. He's gonna go ahead and throw the Play Rough into the Dusclops here. This is a bulky Ghost-type Pokemon though. It can tank it no problem.
It is one stage debuff. If you remember, Harjeff banked up a lot of energy on that Cradily first before going out, but he didn't throw 2. Wants to save that energy for later and trust on a bulky Pokemon like Dusclops to be able to take this and just start start dishing out those shadow punches very quickly, because that is what Dusclops is here for.
Throwing after 4 hexes or 12 turns, seeding an entire fairy win over to Beelzeboy. I'm not sure if it's going to be super impactful, but we definitely don't see that kind of thing at this level very often. Play rough does connect. Gonna go for another shadow punch. I don't know if this is enough, Amanda. I think we're going to need to see another hex afterwards.
They didn't even bother throwing another fast attack before going down. You have to wonder if maybe it would have been enough, but now in comes that shadow. Kanto Marowak to start putting in some mud slap damage. This ice punch is going to be heavier hitting, and there's no protection shield used once again on Beelzeboy's side.
With dealer's choice, HeartJeff selects that Cradilly to go into this matchup. Gonna go ahead and fire the Rock to what an incredible bait, pulling away that shield from Beelzeboy.
Beelzeboy's face every time he gets baited, it's just so funny to me. He's like, oh, one more time, how is this always happening? But it's such a risk, and not only that, it's happening twice. You saw that HeartJeff look like he was going to click it again.
It's so relatable. I roll my eyes just the same. Bone Club gonna get thrown here into that Cradilly, chipping it down, but it was a charge attack priority tie. Another Rock Tomb. Can he get the back-to-back baits? Yes, he does.
This is the second time Beelzeboy has had back-to-back baits that could end up proving very costly in this overall game. Now swapping out, quick pivot. He's able to completely knock down the Cradilly. Lapras has a lot of energy now, but in comes an Azumarill just to tank it all.
Yeah, I mean, Azumarill is small in the frame here, but you have to start shaking your boots when you have 3 Pokemon deep into the red in terms of HP, and that looming bunny-shaped shadow comes out of the Pokeball.
Just hopping towards you here saying, what do you have for me, Lapras? Because it looks pretty refreshing as another Sparkling Aria hits the Azumarill. Azumarill still in the green, almost ready to completely bubble down.
More energy gained, another Sparkling Aria thrown. The third one in a sequence of charge attacks, just trying anything desperately to whittle down this Azumarill. It dips into the yellow. As you pointed out, the full bubble down is completed. There's an Ice Beam loaded, a weakened Tinkaton. The Peekaboo play might do something, and it doesn't because the bubble comes through first.
Not able to get off the attack there. No Protect Shields remaining. All of this energy on Azumarill now going into the Marowak, and down it goes. HeartJeff takes game number 1.
You mentioned Azumarill as being a really, really strong pick for HeartJeff, but I don't know. I felt like he won the majority, maybe 75% of that matchup with the other 2 Pokemon. And then the Azumarill just kind of came in on janitorial duties to mop things up. What do you say to that?
Well, I've tried saying it a couple times fast. It's very difficult. And speaking of difficult, how do you get through HeartJeff?
I know, right? It's going to be difficult, but we're going to see a replay here of our game number 1. The Losers Finals best of 5. Bullet Seeds connecting, Lapras coming in, getting that Psy Wave down, but it just wasn't enough. Azumarill came out in full health, and that just has to be demoralizing.
At this point, Azumarill just put in a ton of work. Not many hard counters, none really on this team, and by the end, Azumarill was still standing. There was a small amount of Dusclops in the back, but that's just game number 1 in this best of 5 series.
Beelzeboy has been one of the most impressive trainers, not just this year, but also last year at the World Championships. He's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders, probably by himself, right? He's got very high expectations, and he wants to follow up his success and climb to new heights. But he's been on a bit of a losing record here, a bit of a stumble in these past 2 series. And he needs to rebound badly if he wants to stay in this series and make it to the grand finals tomorrow.
HeartJeff has had a lot of success in the past seasons on this big stage, but not at actually Worlds. He has never been a day 2 competitor until this point, where now he has potential, if he can win these next 2 matchups, that he's going to be a day 3 competitor.
That's definitely an upgrade, and I'm sure something he would love to accomplish. He's got to win 2 more games, though, in order to get there. Beelzeboy and that Galarian Moltres have been unstoppable all weekend long. They seem to be meeting their foil against these teams. HeartJeff with the Azumarill and the Thunderfang Steelix. It doesn't allow Beelzeboy to play comfortably the way that he wants to.
And the thing is with Beelzeboy at this point is he just had matches against Patoman where he ended up knocking down to the losers bracket. He was on such a great run before that, but the momentum has kind of shifted away from his favor. What he needs to do and what he has been doing, which I think is to take taking a moment to regroup, to recognize, okay, I've made it this far. My team is good. I know how to play, and now it is my chance to prove it.
And he's off to a great start here in game number 2. Galarian Moltres lead into that Dusclops. Immediate pivot into the Annihilate. There's not really a good answer for the Dark and Flying type.
Going ahead, these counters are starting to add up, but he will need to get that Ice Punch to be able to really start chipping away at the Moltres from charge attacks. Has to put up a shield here because the Fly is already loaded, and now we're pivoting into the Tinkaton. Another great Annihilate answer.
This is interesting though, because this Annihilate has so much energy, and it is the Shadow variant. Yes, the Fairy Winds are super effective, but the counters are going to start to look super effective when they get ramped up. Charge attack coming through here from Tinkaton.
Able to get to the Bulldoze, but if HardJeff was counting, and you know he was, that he knows that it's not going to be a play rush, still wants to protect up the Annihilate because he wants to get that switch advantage back. He saw how bad that matchup was between the Dusclops and the Galarian Moltres, and he says, I'm going to avoid that if I can.
Wow, I'm a bit surprised here to see Beelzeboy just giving up control. Switch advantage, yes, he has the 2 Protect Shield advantage, but still, he's got to suspect there might be a Fairy and Water type lurking in the back of HardJeff's line.
There's no Protect Shields left on HardJeff's side, but there is an Annihilate that is ramped up. The Moltres is down past half health, and in comes the Azumarill, one of its harder counters there, and the Lapras in the back. We've seen it before. Doesn't really do much with its charge attacks.
Well, this Galarian Moltres might be able to do a lot with the 2 Protect Shields that Beelzeboy has remaining. We're going to see the charge attack get fired off. Brave Bird connecting first, and then the swap into the Lapras. Icewaves are going to wear this Azumarill down, and the mighty Azumarill that towered over Beelzeboy in game number 1 is starting to look weak.
2 shields to hide behind. Lapras says, I can handle an Azumarill at this length, but in comes the Dusclops, the one that we saw at the beginning. Now a little bit behind on energy, but we see him just ramp up. He's going to start punching, 1-2 punching right away.
I also saw Beelzeboy kind of smile there. He likes seeing the Dusclops. He feels pretty confident about his position as the Shadow Punch connects. It's such a fast, spammy charge attack, but the damage done is so little. Sparkling Aria coming through in return.
When there's no Protect Shields to hide behind, this is when Lapras can really start to shine here, being able to get to another one. We've seen trainers do this in the past, going for the Sparkling Aria and an Ice Beam to be able to do more damage overall, getting that Dusclops very low, but Dusclops has a lot of energy. Coming in now with the Moltres. Look, the fast attack went through, but HardJeff is at that Ice Punch.
Well, actually 2 Sucker Punches went through, and that Dusclops is perilously low. The Azumarill is the only chance here, but he does have that Shadow Punch to boot. Still a Protect Shield, recognizing in terms of relative damage, the Shadow Punch is the less effective charge attack that he's going to be hit with. No shields it, and Beelzeboy looks like he's going to wrap this up, but it's going to be close.
Going ahead, HardJeff looks a little bit discouraged at this point. I don't think we're going to see him throw anything because there is a shield to hide behind on Beelzeboy's side, and now going for Sparkling Aria, recognizing I think it might be enough at this point.
It's going to be really close. Might need a couple of side waves to pick up the KO and get back into the series. Azumarill hangs on by a thread, but then gets KO'd. Final gasp from the Dusclops as it exits the field.
And Beelzeboy ties up the series in this best of 5. If you remember, he was on the opposite side of this when he was in the winners finals. He won game number 1, but then he ended up getting reverse swept by Pokémon.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, now he is in a position where he could do the exact same thing.
So HardJeff is the kind of trainer that leads a Dusclops into a Galarian Moltres, pivots another Ghost type in Shadow Annihilate, and still wins the game. I'm not sure how he does it, but he finds a way. Beelzeboy there was able to win battle number 2 though, and that was the equalizer. So we're effectively now in a best of 3 in a sense, because this is a best of 5 overall series. Let's see what game number 3 has in store.
I think that the pivot to Tinkaton was really, really good for Beelzeboy there, and you kind of called that out from the beginning, Will. Being able to have something that doesn't really have a hard counter or a hard answer to it. I wouldn't be surprised if once he, really had impact this game that we might see it in the next ones coming up in the series.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if it does find its targets, it can be devastating. We have not seen HardJeff deploy his Mandibuzz at all, and I think that is probably the principal reason, even though Mandibuzz would be a solid, tempting answer to the Lapras, to the Shadow Kenta Marowak, to the Shadow Annihilate that he sees on the other side. It's just so risky when he knows that that hammer might come down and pin him in an abysmal situation.
I mean, it looks so non-threatening, right? It's just a little tiny Pokemon, but that hammer is huge and it comes out swinging. As we see a lot more Beelzeboy over and over again, for one, I'm really enjoying it because we don't get to see him very often otherwise.
Yeah.
Not many opportunities to get to see the APAC players playing. But it's so interesting to see the team compositions that he wants to bring. I believe he ran the same Pokemon all 3 games against Patoman, or 3 of the games against Patoman.
Yeah, I think you might be correct. It just goes to show that Beelzeboy is comfortable with his team comps, and he's comfortable doubling and even tripling down when he thinks he has the right formula. And after a couple of tough leads that Galarian Corsola from Patoman, it did turn out to prove right at least once. So we're going to find out what he does here. Going into game number 3, HarJefe is ready to go, locked in. He knows he needs to win 2 more to make it to Championship Sunday.
And you can see him bouncing. He is ready. He is vibing here. He knows, okay, I can take another one. I took the first. I have these capabilities. Both of these trainers desperately want to be able to make it on from here to be able to face Patoman in the grand finals on Championship Sunday.
With Shadow Annihilate, Tinkaton, it's just really difficult to bring something like Cradily, but it's just so tempting, right? I keep going back to the temptation of just going for the bold play, picking that Mandos, picking that Cradily, picking something that is going to put your opponent on the back heel. And at this point, with these stakes, I mean, do you risk it? Do you go for it?
I think arguably out of any time, these are the moments to take some risks because it is not a typical best of 3. So if you do something that's a little bit unexpected, a little bit something that your opponent might not think is coming, that could prove very pivotal for you. And that's exactly what Beelzeboy did game number 1 against Patoman.
I agree. Taking just a few more moments here, heading into game number 3 shortly in our losers finals, the final series of the day here in Anaheim. The sun is down, that cool California breeze is outside just waiting for our trainers, but I'm sure one of them is going to be very happy to walk outside and take in that fresh air, and the other one a little bit disappointed when it's all said and done.
It might be cool out there, but it is heating up in here as so many people are still here to see who are they going to be cheering for on Championship Sunday. When we were at EUIC, when Patoman was awarded, do you remember they like lifted him up in the air and did a little bit of crowd surfing?
Yeah.
It's so cool that he was also congratulated by his friends and family who have made it here to Anaheim, California to watch him play. Something similar is going to be happening to one of these trainers after these matches are over in the losers finals. We have the Annihilate in the lead up against that Shadow Kanto Marowak.
Very neutral situation here. We've seen this multiple times already this weekend. The counters and the mud slaps pace in terms of damage relatively similarly. We're going to see the Rage Fist get fired off first here by that Shadow Annihilate, pulling the shield. This
is going to be able not only pull the shield, but make those counters a little more boosted. Will have to use a shield himself on HarJef's side if he wants to keep that Annihilate around, and it looks like that's exactly what he wants to do.
Eyes on the prize. HarJef is looking at that HP. He says, I think I can counter all the way through. Here comes another Bone Club. Do we see the second Protect Shield? This is a very important decision, and HarJef goes all in.
Looks like he was really liking that Annihilate play, wants to be able to make sure that he can counter too, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Hanging on by a sliver here. He's out of Protect Shields, but he has some energy. He has to blind throw, I think, because look at the health on that Annihilate.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. Whatever comes in, you have to throw something. But the Psy Wave takes one turn, and so does the Rage Fist, but the damage applies, picking up the knockout and nullifying the energy.
What a smart play by Beelzeboy there, saying, okay, the counter's not going to go through. I know he's throwing an attack, and the Psy Wave damage will register first.
Important call, critical decision there from HarJef to go Azumarill into the Lapras, because it means he can align his Steelix versus the Tinkaton. He stores the energy, he comes out, Steelix roars onto the field.
Going ahead and taking a Bulldoze. We saw this earlier, even though it's super effective, the Bulldoze doesn't do that much damage, and the Steelix is still in the green, but neither one of the attacks of the Steelix is going to be doing that much either. Bulldoze number 2 already ready, already being deployed, knocking that Steelix down into the yellow.
HarJef knows he doesn't need to worry about the Fairy Winds or nothing more than a light breeze to this Steel Titan on his side of the field. Psychic Fangs is going to get fired off here, resisted by that Steel typing and Tinkaton as well, but the Thunder Fangs are going to start to add up.
Starting to add up, that defense is guaranteed to drop while Bulldoze does have a chance for it, just continuing to swing away, doesn't want to get caught on anything. I think both trainers are very aware that their timers are now up after this is over. We might see some quick pivots as we've seen a couple of times, and that's exactly what happens. Both of them going for an attack.
Wow, double simultaneous swap. We're going to see the Play Rough come through from the Azumarill into that Lapras. A big dent in terms of HP, and the Sparkling Aria gets queued up after 2 more Psy Waves as well.
No Protect Shields left remaining on HarJeff's side. Sparkling Arias don't do that much, but watch them add up over time with that Psy Wave damage. Meanwhile, Azumarill takes a long time to go, and once again, HarJeff is going for a bait. If Beelzeboy uses his shield, which he does, this is the 3rd time in this series that is going, shielding up the bait move. Now there are no more Protect Shields on either side of the field.
The smirk and the head nod gets me every single time. He's like, oh, you got me pretty good there. Sparkling Area firing off yet again as Lapras tries to whittle down that water and fairy type Azumarill. Going for the play rough here. That one bubble might make a massive difference here as HarJeff has been extremely efficient.
Azumarill is no longer playing nice. He's starting to play rough there. Now swapping into the Felix, trying to go, but Beelzeboy says, nuh-uh, not this time. I know this is loaded. Will this be enough to knock out the Steelix at this point?
Calling the switch in,
Ooh.
throwing the bulldoze, picking up the KO. In comes the Azumarill. Can't take a ton clutch. They'll play rough, and it does.
Going ahead again, being able to just swing the hammer. Said, I saw that play rough, and I want one of my own. Azumarill, here's a taste of your own medicine. Beelzeboy taking game number 2.
Looks less like a hammer and more like a gavel, making that judgment. I am going to win this game number 3 and keep myself in the running for Championship Sunday. Beelzeboy on the precipice of bouncing back and finding his way to the grand finals.
Now, if this was a standard matchup like we've seen throughout the day, it would already be over. This would already be called for Beelzeboy. However, in these best of 5 matchups, HarJeff still has a chance. He needs to win 2 more games to Beelzeboy's 1 to be able to make it to Championship Sunday. There's a lot on the line for both of these trainers as they are the 2 remaining players for the rest of the day.
Amanda, what would you think if I told you that while we were discussing the ending of that game, HarJeff had already locked in his team? He's ready, right now.
Wow, well, what would I think? I hardly ever think to begin with, so why do you put me on the spot there, Will?
Oh my goodness, so charming as ever. HarJeff ready to go, Beelzeboy taking a few more moments, and we will take a moment to look back at that game number 3. We talk a lot about the Azumarill for HarJeff. It looked so good in the early goings of the series, but Beelzeboy just keeps finding answers. I think that Tinkaton is a big part of that equation.
Definitely, for sure. Before, it was maybe, deciding what Pokemon do I want to bring. HarJeff, it was very similar, right? They both have Pokemon on their teams that have a lot of neutral or good play. Again, we saw that from HarJeff's side, that Azumarill, and then also that Tinkaton from Beelzeboy. HarJeff, I really think that his playstyle has been adapting throughout the days. I've noticed now in the 2 games that he has lost, he went down double shields quite early in the matchup. Do you think that that was something that proved pivotal for the later point of the game?
Yeah, he definitely invested in that Shadow Annihilate in the lead, if I recall correctly. I mean, he knows how important it is to maximize the potential of the Pokemon that you have. And Pokemon like Shadow Annihilate, they need protection. They need to ramp up with the Rage Fist and deal that additional counter damage. And when you're anticipating something like Lapras, like Tinkaton, like soft targets that you can deal a lot of damage to, you have to put your resources where they matter the most. So yeah, he has absolutely been willing to change up his game plan, to pivot, to switch, to kind of throw his opponent off. He's got to do that 2 more times though if he wants to walk into that arena tomorrow morning.
It looks like he's staring down. He's recognizing, okay, this is a big moment for me. Looks like we got the thumbs up from Beelzeboy. Looks like they are getting ready to get into the battles. Beelzeboy needs to win this to get himself the Championship Sunday, to get that grudge match against Pokémon, but he's got to get through HarJeff first.
This could be decisive. Galarian Moltres takes to the skies versus that Shadow Annihilate for HarJeff. What do you see?
This is so difficult because this is an ABA lineup to that Galarian Moltres, which is in the lead. Neither that Shadow Annihilate nor the Dusclops in the back really want much to do with it, so HarJeff is forced to stay into this position. He's using a Rage Fist to boost the counter damage here. No Protect Shield on Beelzeboy's side.
Yeah, incredible no-shield call there, but you gotta respect the Fly as a fighting-type Pokemon, and HarJeff does exactly that. Pivoting now into the Shadow Kanto Marowak. We haven't seen Beelzeboy do this yet, but he's confident he can get the damage in. Azumarill, though, comes in to a half-health Shadow Kanto Marowak.
I'm very confused, but also I'm not the mastermind that HarJeff is either. If you see a Galarian Moltres on the other side, and you know that you have an Annihilate that's at a very low health, and a Dusclops in the back, what is going through your mind besides, okay, maybe I need something bulky to take out this Marowak, because maybe I'm going to have a better chance with whatever the 3rd Pokemon is?
The question on my mind is, can Can the Azumarill bubble all the way through? I guess not wanting to take the Mud Slap damage, HarJeff opts to throw that charge attack instead. He wants to knock out, and that's exactly what he gets. He wants enough HP to stay in the matchup and really maximize his Azumarill gameplay here.
I guess when we're talking about the neutral Pokemon that are in the games, we're seeing them play against each other right now. HarJeff had to believe that the Beelzeboy has been relying on that Tinkaton, must have recognizing that it was in the back, and Dusclops would have a decent matchup against it, being able to throw those shadow punches quite quickly. There's so much energy now on Beelzeboy's side on that Tinkaton, throwing the Bulldoze, the littler attack there, maybe still enough to knock that Azumarill out, and still being able to just get a little more energy to throw at the next Pokemon that comes in.
Wow, absolutely stunning control there. The Bulldoze and the single Fairy Wind now pivoting into the Glaring Moltres to meet the Dusclops. Now counter swap into the Shadow Annihilate to throw the Rage Fist.
I like this play a lot by HarJeff. He knows, okay, it's not a heavy hitting attack, but it's going to make my counters do a little bit more damage, and I need to go ahead and get this Moltres out of here, but it's not enough. Moltres is still able to stick in here, and these attacks by the Dusclops aren't doing very much at all.
And the trick is that now this Galarian Moltres is low enough for a Shadow Punch to knock out. This might be HarJeff's last battle in Anaheim. He's gonna fight with everything he's got.
He's going ahead just charging up a lot more energy here, recognizing that he's also gonna need those Shadow Punches to be able to take it out. He was going for his win condition of fully farming down. He wasn't able to get there. This fly will connect. This Dusclops looks like it's getting desperately low.
Oh, it's swapping in, throwing the charge attack with the Tinkaton. It had too much HP. It was too much to overcome. HarJeff is going to fall, and Beelzeboy bounces back to head to the grand finals in Anaheim.
What happened to Beelzeboy in the winners finals just happened to HarJeff in the losers finals. Beelzeboy being able to reverse sweep the situation, to be able to take control, to be able to make it so he's going to see Pataman in what we call a grudge match in the end on Championship Sunday.
Exactly right. Beelzeboy looking around, he said, wow, I think I just did it. I think I made it to Championship Sunday, going even further than he did last year. And HarJeff, ever the sportsman, is clapping for his opponent. Well played. Congratulations and wishing him the best.